Hey everybody, and welcome back to Kick It Into Sticks. Today we're talking about pepper plants. Did you know that the pepper plant is actually a perennial, and that means it can grow year after year and give you multiple years of peppers instead of just a single growing season of peppers. Now if you live in a warmer climate where it stays around 70 or 80, your pepper plant can actually produce peppers year round. However, if you live in a zone like 5A, like we do, where we have harsh winters, you're going to need to take special care of your pepper plant to help it produce for the following growing season. There are a number of benefits to overwintering your pepper plants, and we'll talk about those in just a bit. But first, let's head out to the garden and show you how we start to prepare our pepper plants for overwintering. So the first thing you're going to want to do is get out a shears, and this is a bypass shears, by the way, and the reason they call it a bypass shears is because it works a lot like a scissors. This blade bypasses the bottom blade. The other type is an anvil shears or an anvil pruner, which has a flat bar of steel down here, and then this blade is also flat, and they just come together, and that's what creates the cutting action. The first thing we're going to start doing is pruning back our pepper plants, just so we can see a little better what's going on inside here. Get it down to looking like a Y. You're going to cut right above the nodes. So there, you should be left with a pepper plant something like this, where you're cutting above the nodes. That's where the new growth will come from next spring when the plant starts growing again. Let's go trim our last one. All right, you're going to go ahead and dig around them with the shovel to get the root ball out. Then we'll make sure we pull out all the other roots from other weeds that were growing next to the pepper plants. You're going to shake most of the dirt out that you can from the root ball, and then the rest of the plant we're just going to dunk in some water and flush out the rest of the debris and clean the roots off. This will also help flush out any insects that might be inside the root system, because when we bring these into our house, we don't want to also bring the insects along with. Just clean out any extra debris here. Now that we've moved our plants back into the greenhouse here, we're going to get our pots ready. Now our pots have some fairly large holes in the bottom. We want to make sure that our soil that we put in, our potting soil, does not fall through. So to remedy that and still allow for drainage of water, we're going to take a coffee filter and place it down in the bottom, and then our potting soil will go on top of that with the root ball, and then that will prevent the loss of the majority of our soil. So to get our pot started, we're just going to put a little bit of potting soil in the bottom of each one of these, just to get the filter held down. This is optional, but you can take the root balls, just to prevent any possibility of insects being inside of these roots yet. You can take either neem oil, which we do not have any of that right now, or you can use a plant-safe insect killing soap that is designed specifically for this purpose. So we'll just spray this in the root ball mass and on the rest of the plant as well. then we'll add potting soil to cover up the root ball. And we're just using a rejuvenating potting soil mix, nothing fancy or special here. If you're trying to overwinter these and get them to go dormant, you don't want to add any kind of a miracle grow potting soil or even any kind of fertilizers for that matter, because we don't want to stimulate any plant growth at this stage of the growing process. We want the plant to go dormant over winter and then spring back to life. By January, you should start seeing some new budding growth start, and that's okay. Just leave it go and just keep it in that cool area of about 50 degrees Fahrenheit. We live in growing zone 5, so for us, growing peppers year-round is not practical, and we're not going to heat our homes here in Wisconsin up to 80 degrees. That would cost way too much just to keep a pepper plant producing peppers year-round. So now that we have our peppers pruned and in new potting soil, we're going to bring them inside of our house, and we're going to let them sit in a room where they receive approximately 2 to 4 hours of sunlight per day. It doesn't have to be a lot. Again, we don't want to try to stimulate any growth on the pepper plant. We want it to go dormant and hibernate basically over the course of the winter. We'll also be sure to keep the room that we store them in at around 50 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, it is worth noting that your pepper plant might not survive the overwintering process, and that's okay. It doesn't necessarily mean that you did anything wrong in the pruning phase or that you potted it wrong or did anything wrong at all. It just may not be able to take that shock. However, it is worth giving it a shot, considering the fact that it takes a pepper plant from seed to maturity about 60 to 90 days. And once we have our peppers, it takes about another 2 to 4 weeks for our true pepper color to show through if we have something, say, like a red bell or a yellow bell or orange bell pepper. Now, in the northern climate where we are in zone 5A, that means we're pretty much pushing the month of September before we get our pepper to full maturity and to the color that we would like to see. By overwintering your pepper plants and then bringing them out the next year, you'll be able to produce peppers much more quickly because you already have a mature plant, and you'll also receive your colored peppers much more early in the growing season. Stick around because next growing season we'll make sure to show you the results of our overwintering process. And if you found this particular video helpful, make sure you stick around and check out my video on the 10 things that you should be doing to prepare your home or homestead for winter, especially if you live in those northern climates like we do. Come back to Kick It Into Sticks, and we'll see you in the next one.